Welcome, college basketball fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for a NCAA Tournament report with Grant Shouse and Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader. There's going to be no Greg and his friends talk sports tonight, so I want to mention a couple quick notes before we get to Grant to lead this podcast. Some headlines that we're not going to be able to talk about because it is too late. Jackie Hosier and the Vermont Catamounts are in Louisville today at noon. That game's on ESPN. Notre Dame takes on Fairfield at 2. And MAC champion Miami is in Morgantown to face West Virginia at 5. Kind of a shame Notre Dame is the only women's team in the women's from Indiana in the women's tournament. Purdue the only one in the men's tournament. No NIT. It's just pathetic. All right, NAIA, the men, Grace, ranked second, beat Cumberland's 82-74. They're in the Elite Eight. They'll play Ave Maria on Saturday. And in the women's tournament, both Marion and St. Francis are in the Elite Eight. Purdue signed 2026 four-star Jamin Sondrup from Springville, Utah, a 6'9" forward. I believe he's the first player ever from Utah to sign with Purdue. He chose Purdue over Washington, Utah, and Mississippi State. Kokomo has a new football coach. His name is Grant Foes, and he is a 2025 Indiana Wesleyan graduate. From Princeton, Illinois, he replaces Caleb Small, who went 4-7 in his 1 year at Kokomo before leaving for his alma mater, Hamilton Heights. And Ivica Zubac is out for the season for the Pacers. The Pacers are in San Antonio on Saturday to face the Spurs in a 2027 NBA Finals preview. As young as they are, the Spurs are 52-18 and have the second best odds to win the NBA championship. And last thing, Grant, we had a big semi-state preview on Thursday. Go check that out. And we will have the results for you on Greg and his friends Talk Sports Sunday. And we hope to have a semi-state scoreboard show. Grant, it was a bit of a bummer of a day, wasn't it?
Kinda, in a way. A lot of them were a snooze fest until kind of late night. The day started out with just an all-time classic game with Santa Clara and Kentucky out in St. Louis, where Santa Clara hit a go-ahead three to put them up 3, and then Otega Owe came back with a 35-footer at the buzzer to send it to overtime, and just kind of a snooze fest other than that all day. I guess a decent game was Villanova versus Utah State. The Miami-Ohio game was disappointing. Wright State couldn't get it done down the stretch. Just a lot of blowouts, really, until the final few games of the night where Missouri and Miami was close, and then Miami pulled away at the end. Kansas almost let one slip against Cal Baptist, ended up winning by 8. And then UConn pulled away late against Furman. So there were good games, but the teams that won just kind of felt like they pulled away there down the stretch.
Michelle, the best teams in the Big Ten and the Big 12 look like the class of the field, don't they?
Yeah, they're pretty. It's been pretty impressive. For what those Big Ten teams have done, and yeah, Big 12. Maybe I think Iowa State that was a great first round game. I'm always anxious though, because a lot of times, and I know Greg, you've seen a lot of it in basketball, and Grant, you too, because a lot of times you just never know. A close first round game by a higher or a low seed that is tight in a game, then the next game it will be a blowout for them, and vice versa. So I'm anxious to see Saturday and Sunday's games, the second round games for these teams, for the ones to see if there's any team that can continue rolling big, winning big, or if it's going to turn into a really exciting, close tournament.
Yeah, Grant, the one thing I'll say is even though the first 2 days have been pretty chalky, that pretty much sets up pretty good days here Saturday and Sunday. Some pretty good matchups.
I thought this tournament, honestly, has been better than the one we saw last year. Last year was pretty boring, pretty chalky. Day one was really, really good this year. Day two, not nearly as good as day one of the all-day, wall-to-wall coverage of the tournament. Kind of disappointing in that aspect, but better than the alternative of last year, and it's better than not having a tournament at all, like in 2020. So, but yeah, looking at the second round matchups there's going to be some good games where I'll be interested to see Duke, how they come out against TCU. TCU won a close game against Ohio State, and Siena led Duke a 16-1. They led Duke for 35, almost over 35 minutes of their first round matchup. I'll be interested to see if that was just kind of a fluke, if Siena just got hot, or if Duke just didn't play well and they're going to get it turned around on Saturday. So those are some of the things I'm looking at. And I think that Saturday and Sunday will probably be two better days of basketball. Well, how about the Boilermakers? An absolute pounding victory over Queens out of North Carolina on Friday night. The game was never really a game, despite Purdue. Queens would get it to 5. They'd hit a 3 in the first half to get it to 5. And then it seemed like Purdue would just be able to respond and get a bucket. They'd hit a 3 and they go up 8, or they go up 9. And then Queens would try to dig themselves out of the hole. And when it felt like they started to dig themselves out, Purdue would just kick them right back down in the hole. So give Purdue some credit there. And Braden Smith becomes the all-time assist leader in the NCAA basketball, passing Bobby Hurley. Pretty impressive. And this is a Purdue team that I think you can already crown them the national champions. The tournament should already be over.
I hear you.
You're serious?
Yeah, I'm always serious.
No,
it's actually the Purdue Invitational now. They're actually renaming it.
That game goes on Sunday, but I expect Purdue to make it back to the Sweet 16. And congratulations to Braden Smith on becoming the all-time assist leader. But I thought for Purdue, if Fletcher Lawyer can continue to crank in threes at this kind of pace that he's been at here lately, then it does bode well for Purdue. He hits a shooting slump. It could be interesting.
I don't think this game told us anything. As optimistic as Grant is here, clearly tongue-in-cheek, I don't think this game tells us anything. That was not a good team that they beat. But it is a positive sign that they came out and took care of business. I think almost all the time the teams that get to the Final Four play well the first game of the tournament, and it's usually a good sign when your team does. And I will continue to be cautiously optimistic here, I guess. Even though I'm not a big fan of teams that think they can just turn it on at the end of the year. But maybe they can. But I also didn't think much of Miami either. So I think Purdue is pretty safe into next weekend.
Yeah, looking at that same region there where Purdue is at in the West, Arizona, a dominating win over Long Island, 92-58. So it is confirmed that the Arizona iced tea is better than the Long Island iced tea. And they absolutely pounded LIU, which LIU was a good team all year. But, man, after seeing what Arizona did to them to start the game today, I'm not so sure that anybody could beat Arizona. They were just that dominant today, Michelle.
They're a team that, man, when they are on, they're almost like invincible, and they were very much that way today. And there's a reason I think a lot of people have picked Arizona to reach the Final Four in the championship game.
No weaknesses.
Utah State beat Villanova 86-76 in San Diego as well. And Utah State outscored Villanova 15-3 in the final 6 minutes. So it'll be Arizona versus Utah State out west in the West region, where it should be in San Diego. And Arizona is already an 11.5-point favorite over Utah State. But don't sleep on that Utah State team and Jared Calhoun and those guys, man. They could give Arizona a run for their money, but Arizona is still going to be a really good team going into that game.
I had Utah State in my bracket, but only for the one win over Villanova. I don't have them beating Arizona.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close, guys. I think Arizona, Iowa State, and Houston, maybe Duke, if Boozer's on, are the class of this field. It's just my guess from what I've seen all year.
In the Midwest region earlier today in St. Louis, Kentucky 89, Santa Clara 84 in overtime. An all-time classic ruined by a bad result. But hey, you know what? You may be getting an Iowa State shirt then, Greg, because they beat Tennessee State today, 108-74. By far, that may have been the longest college basketball game in the history of college basketball. It felt like that game took forever. Those two teams will play on Sunday. Kentucky and Iowa State. Iowa State opens as a 5.5-point favorite. I know, Greg, that you were kind of wrong in the first 2 days, but take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. I was wrong a lot.
Down in Tampa.
Hold on. Let me say one more thing. I was wrongest about Miami of Ohio.
Me too.
They just ran into a Tennessee team that played well. That's the thing with Rick Barnes. You never know exactly how his team is going to play in the NCAA tournament. I mean, he's a good coach, but a good coach that just does not always produce well in the tournament.
You're right. Tennessee beat Miami of Ohio 78-56 in Philadelphia today. Jacoby Gillespie, 29 points for the Volunteers. He had 22 in the first half, and they shot 45% from three. Miami started off the game hot, but then things just didn't bounce their way. And I remember thinking, man, this one could get ugly, and it did. So it'll be Virginia and Tennessee on Sunday in Philadelphia, where Virginia opens as a slight favorite over the 6-seed Volunteers. Also in Philadelphia on Friday, Virginia, a winner over Wright State, 82-73. Wright State was up by 5.
I thought they were going to get them, Grant.
They were up by 5 at halftime, and then a late 15-3 run closed the game. Jakari White, 26 points. He was 6 of 8 from downtown and built Virginia to that win. That was actually their first NCAA tournament win since 2019 when they won the national championship. They have not won a game in the tournament since 2019 when Tony Bennett was the coach. So, and I thought Wright State had them. I mean, they played well. They were right there. They've got a really good team. Hopefully some of those guys at Wright State can stick around and be back next year to try and get them back in the tournament. But of course, with how college hoops works nowadays, probably some of those guys may take the latter move and move on.
I was rooting for these underdog mid-majors, so I didn't really care because I only did one bracket and it wasn't in a local contest. I just did it on, I think, CBS Sports Network. So I kind of went with who I thought would win, and then if it was a toss-up, I went with who I was hoping would win.
In Tampa, Texas Tech beat Akron 91-71. The Red Raiders shot 64% in that game and pulled away late to beat Akron. And then Alabama, who kind of struggled with Hofstra early on, ended up, again, pulling away to win 90-70. Mark Sears, 26 points. Grant Nelson, 19 points, 11 rebounds. So it'll be Alabama and Texas Tech on Sunday. And the Crimson Tide open as an early favorite in Tampa. In the South region today as well, Iowa, a 67-61 win over Clemson. Iowa's first tournament win in 5 years. And they outscored Clemson 24-8 at the foul line, kind of the difference maker in that game. And again, Greg, we talked about it. That just Iowa and Clemson and Tampa seems like something you would see in like the Outback Bowl. Like it doesn't seem like a tournament game. Like they should be playing in Tampa in a late December bowl game in football.
That's right. Congratulations to Iowa, your Outback Bowl champions.
Yep. Florida with a 114-55 win over Prairie View. Not much more you can say there, except when they asked the Prairie View coach in a timeout in the live interview there tonight, they asked him, well, Coach, what do you got to do to get Florida stopped here? And he goes, we're going to need help from the Lord. That's how bad it was. So Florida in a blowout win over Prairie View A&M. Florida will play Iowa on Sunday in Tampa. And the Gators looking to get back to the Sweet 16 and trying to defend their 2025 national championship. In the East region in San Diego, St. John's, a big win over Northern Iowa on Friday as well, 79-53. Rick Pitino's 56th NCAA tournament game win, which ranks 8th all-time. The three guys directly above him are all in the tournament as well, with, of course, Tom Izzo, John Calipari, and Bill Self, who also moved himself up the list there tonight with the win over Cal Baptist. They all won in the first round, and the top four of those being Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, Dean Smith, and Jim Boeheim. Tom Izzo can tie Jim Boeheim with a win over Louisville on Saturday, but nonetheless, St. John's takes down the champions of the MVC, Northern Iowa, to advance to the round of 32.
Say what you want about Rick Pitino. That guy can coach some basketball.
He absolutely can, and too bad he's a little bit of a sleazebag.
That's right. Not a little bit.
Kansas with a 68-60 win over Cal Baptist. So it'll be St. John's and Kansas on Sunday in Southern California.
Unimpressive, Grant.
Well, yeah. Kansas about let one slip late. Cal Baptist got it down to 6 with a minute to go. Just couldn't get over the hump. But Kansas, man, able to pull it out. And so Kansas and St. John's will be an interesting game. I'm just going to go ahead and say I think St. John's will come out and win that game.
I do too, especially if Peterson takes more than half of Kansas's shots from the field. He is actually not going to hurt Kansas in this tournament, as opposed to really helping him.
When the game was on the line, he didn't even look like he was trying to get open to get the ball. A little disappointing from him, even though he scored a lot of points.
In the late session in Philadelphia tonight, UCLA a 75-71 win over Central Florida. UCF 5 of 16 from the foul line in that game, guys. Just an absolute killer, especially when you lose by 4. And I saw a stat where somebody timed how long the last 4 minutes of the game took. It took over a half hour to complete the last 4 minutes of that game, with how many, times the clock got stopped for free throws and fouls and then timeouts and all that other stuff. It took over a half hour to finish the last 4 minutes. And that takes you back to and I saw this on Twitter, as from Roxy Bernstein, so I don't want to steal this from him, but Roxy Bernstein said it kind of reminds us of the old Bill Walton quote, that if somebody gave me 2 minutes to live, I'd want that 2 minutes to be in the last 2 minutes of a college basketball game. That's how long they take.
That's right. Great quote. It's a shame, too, when it's a really good game and then all of a sudden it's a foul contest at the end.
If you're a good team, you can hit free throws in clutch situations.
By the way, John Bull was 0 for 5 from the line down the stretch. And Manute named one of his sons Bull, and then the next one John Bull.
UConn pulled away to beat Furman on Friday night, I guess early Saturday morning after midnight, also in Philadelphia, as the Furman Paladins gave UConn a little bit of a scare down the stretch there, where they kind of hung with them. They were only down 5 at the half and ended up, UConn ended up pulling away to win the game. And UConn will take on UCLA on Sunday in Philadelphia. UConn, of course, will open as an early favorite. And guys, I got to say, whoever loses that game, the coach is going to be just one of the biggest crybabies in their post-game press conference. I can't wait.
By the way, did you know that if UConn wins the national championship, Alex Caravan will be the first non-UCLA player ever to win 3?
I did not know that, and that is an incredible stat.
It is. And their big man tonight for UConn, he had 30 points and 27 rebounds. So,
Unreal.
yes.
Terrace Reed Jr., 30 points, 27 rebounds.
He had his
It's
career
almost
high in
unheard of.
rebounds with 4 minutes to go in the first half.
Yeah.
And Braden Mullins from last year's Mr. Basketball came up with 2 huge steals for UConn in the latter part of that game. And, of course, and then made some clutch free throws.
Struggled offensively, but he's a nice player.
By the way, there were a lot of Indiana Mr. Basketball's fingerprints on this tournament here in the last few days this week, where Braden Smith was the 2022 Mr. Basketball, of course, at Purdue now, and now the NCAA's all-time assist leader. The 2023 Mr. Basketball was Marcus Burton, who plays at Notre Dame. Of course, they missed the tournament. And then the 2024 Mr. Basketball, Flory Badunga at Kansas, made an impact. And then Braylon Mullins there, who won Mr. Basketball last year at UConn, of course, makes an impact and comes off the bench for Dan Hurley's team. You could make the argument that Xavier Booker probably could have won the award in 2023 at Cathedral instead of Marcus Burton, and he plays for UCLA and plays significant minutes for Mick Cronin. So there were a lot of Indiana high school basketball fingerprints on this tournament here and going to be on this tournament here going forward, which is just always kind of fun to see as a high school fan. On Saturday, another big slate of college basketball in the NCAA tournament. Michigan, the number 1 seed in the East, will take on the number 9 seed in the East, the St. Louis Billikens. Michigan opens as a 12.5-point favorite.
Hey, give me the Billikens.
You think?
Yeah, but I was wrong all day today, so I
know. At 2:45 on CBS as well in Buffalo, it'll be Michigan State taking on Louisville. Michigan State, a 4.5-point favorite. Again, that's at 2:45 on CBS in Buffalo. At 5:15 down in Greenville, South Carolina in the South region on CBS, Duke will play TCU. Duke opens up as an 11.5-point favorite over the Horned Frogs, and Duke is looking to get back to the Sweet 16 for the 4th consecutive season. At 6:10 in Oklahoma City, the South region, it'll be an all-Texas matchup north of the Texas border in Oklahoma City, where Houston will open as a 10.5-point favorite over Texas A&M. That game again will be on TNT down in OKC. At 7:10 in Portland in the West region, it'll be Gonzaga taking on the Texas Longhorns, who have just now won 2 games in 3 days. Gonzaga opens up as a 6.5-point favorite. That game will be on TBS at 7:10 p.m. on Saturday night. At 7:50, also in Greenville, South Carolina in the South region on CBS, it'll be Illinois taking on VCU. Illinois, an 11.5-point favorite against the Rams of Virginia Commonwealth. Phil Martelli Jr. trying to get it done and get the Rams back to the Sweet 16. At 8:45, also in Oklahoma City in the South region, it'll be Nebraska looking to win back-to-back NCAA tournament games for the first time ever. They'll take on Vanderbilt, and they open as a 1.5-point favorite due the Commodores over Nebraska, who just won their first ever NCAA tournament game this past Thursday. At 9:45 in Portland in the West region as well, it'll be Arkansas, an 11.5-point favorite over kind of the darlings of the tournament right now, the High Point Panthers. The game will be on TBS at 9:45 again in Portland. So another good day of college basketball on Saturday.
Hey, and with High Point playing the last game, we know that we will have at least one Cinderella in the final 17. So that's a good thing. What are you guys looking forward to most on Saturday?
For me, Saturday, it's go Ben Humrickhouse and Illinois. I will be pulling for them. And as somebody who went to IU, that's really hard to do, is to pull for the Illini, I should say. But I really want Ben to get to experience the Sweet 16 and that journey, and that continues on. I mean, he's a great young man, and so he has really worked hard to get where he's at to this point, and this is his final NCAA tournament. So I'm wishing him the best of luck tomorrow, and I will be pulling for Humrickhouse.
Honestly, Greg, I think I'm looking forward to the next couple days what the 9 seeds could do against the 1s. This weekend is really going to tell us a whole lot about what the 1 seeds, I think, can do in the tournament. Can they advance to the Final Four? Will it be an all 1 seed party at the Final Four again in Indy coming up here soon? I think it can be, but I think when you look at teams like Duke, who struggled with Siena in the opening round, and then TCU, who really looked solid against Ohio State, really makes things interesting. This was the first time since 2019 that all the 9 seeds have advanced to the second round of the tournament. That has, again, not happened since 2019. That was a great tournament. I'll be looking forward to see how that goes.
To me, I think, again, it's about the Big Ten and the Big 12. I think they're going to separate themselves from the ACC and the SEC this weekend, and we'll see. And I think the first game might be the best one of the entire weekend. Michigan, St. Louis.
I'm looking forward to that game.
Grant, Michelle, thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Let's do it again soon.
Thank you. Grant, you be safe traveling tomorrow and enjoy your day.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Thanks so much, Grant and Michelle. We hope to be back tonight with some more guests. After day 3 of the tournament, please join us. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susan.